moments later.
All right, are you okay?
Yo, me, I know the okay.
Charlie, what happened? You send the mix. Brian, you have a baby, yeah? Yes, I am.
Loneliness, not having a community to talk to.
Cultural differences, language barrier, and adjusting to a different social environment. I was overwhelmed, I was sad, I was angry almost at every point. Being intentional about adapting and asking for help when needed. I took my time and took things one at a time.
I found a church and it's been really helpful.
Looking back, resting helped me so much. Yeah, they did. But even though I still face challenges, I found better and healthier ways to manage them. Do not hesitate to ask for help and make use of counseling services available to you.
Find a community, find people like you, involve yourself in activities.
All I can tell you is to relax, prioritize your mental health. Charlie, you have to be okay.
Charlie, are you okay?
Charlie, you okay?
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Charlie, are you okay? Charlie, are you okay?
Charlie, are you okay?
Charlie, are you okay? Eh? Are you okay?
Charlie, are you okay?
Oh my God! Wow!
A few moments later.
All right, are you okay?
Yo, me, I know the okay.
Charlie, what happened? You send the mix. Brian, you have a baby, yeah? Yes, I am.
Loneliness, not having a community to talk to.
Cultural differences, language barrier, and adjusting to a different social environment. I was overwhelmed, I was sad, I was angry almost at every point. Being
Hi,
intentional
Flo.
about adapting and asking for help when needed. I took my time and
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Portia.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and good morning to someone joining from Ghana.
Yeah.
Good evening. I
Thank
think
you for joining.
looking at you, my mental health is already gone.
Oh, really? Are you serious? Look at my hair. So yeah, I think we are 5 minutes late. So, oh, but can you give us a short opening prayer? Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So, Father, we are praying. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for that. This is a day that you have made, and you said we should rejoice and be glad in it. We thank you that there are new mercies for us, Lord. We thank you for this opportunity to hear, for this program to receive wisdom, to receive guidance, to receive knowledge for our lives. So, Father, I pray by the end of this program, Lord, let anybody with any challenges, Lord, be relieved, be healed, be impacted, Lord. May lives be improved and be saved, Lord. And we thank you for the success of this program. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Robert. So now, the president of GSU would give us opening remarks and introduce the first speaker. Then we take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening from Japan. Good morning for those in Ghana. Hope you are all doing well. Thank you for joining today's session. So today we are having our maiden mental health session, which we dubbed Navigating Mental Health as a Ghanaian in Japan. Charlie, are you okay? And this topic is very relevant, especially for people in the diaspora where we have to face various challenges and we need to try to be okay away from home. And so this session is not just going to be a lecture. It's not going to look like a lecture. It's going to be, for some people, it's going to be a safe space where you could learn, you could ask questions, you could send in comments, and we have very seasoned and well-abled professionals who are here to answer your questions as much as possible. And also, I would like to entreat us to turn on our videos so that we can all feel like, because it's already online, so we need to see each other and also feel like we are all here in one room. So as much as possible, please turn on your videos. And so without me wasting my time, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Her name is Dr. Mavis Sechi. She is currently a student at Nagasaki University. She's studying public health, and she's actually been in the public health field for over the past 7 years. And currently she's like I said earlier, she's studying public health in Nagasaki University. And so, Dr. Sechi, we are looking forward to hearing from you. Also, before Dr. Sechi starts, I think we have shared, we are going to share, is it there? We have shared a link in the chats. And so for those who are shy to ask questions, because it's a mental health program, some people want their privacy, you can send anonymous questions or comments. For those who don't mind, you can just send your questions on Zoom whilst the presenters are speaking. So whenever you can send in your comments. So Dr. Sechi Dozo.
Thank you so much, Presido. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to us all. I would want to first thank the leadership for first recognizing how important this topic is, and second, bringing some of us on board to help open up, the air on this topic. And like Florette mentioned, we are hoping that we can bring up questions because these are not theoretical things. For most of us on the call, these are things that we are living through. These are things that we are aware of and may not even realize that it may be affecting us in one way or the other. And so I am hoping that we can have a very fruitful discussion together. Today, my task is quite simple. Let me try and share my screen. Okay. Please confirm for me if you can see the screen clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Thank you very much. So, for today, I've reached out. Today, my task is to kind of close caption some of the challenges we live with in Japan. I would say that it's quite interesting that she reached out to me. I personally have had quite a bumpy road, moving from Ghana to Japan. And so I would want to share some of these experiences. I look forward to hearing from a lot of us so that we can co-create or at least push these strategies together. It's not a theoretical talk shop. I'm hoping it will not be a talk shop for most of us. It's something we can carry away and actually help improve our lives. So like I mentioned, hopefully we can recognize some of these challenges we live with. Some we know, some we may not really recognize as mental health challenges, but are indeed mental health challenges. Once we can understand and reflect on these, we can actually hopefully take a step and act up. For me, knowing is one thing, but doing is where real action lies, where real power lies. And a lot of us actually have challenges with this no-do gap. So I'm hoping that by the end of today's session, we will be able to step up and do something about our challenges as and when they arise. So just a bit about me. I always say I'm God's beloved because of how roller coaster-ish my life has been, but at the same time, how much I have enjoyed grace through it all. I started my academic journey in Ghana. I did my medical school in KNUST and then moved to Accra. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and that is where a lot of my, anchoring comes from God and from family. I have been part of this community, at least in Japan, for the past 2 years, and it was not easy making the transition because I recall that my youngest was about 2 years, and just upping and leaving for academic work for me was very overwhelming. But by God's grace, we've done 2 years, and currently I am in Ghana back with the family, and so you can see that I'm less stressed than I was 2 weeks ago. Some of the challenges we need to break. So we live in a culture, and I think that for a lot of us, we understand the pressure that Japan itself brings. I try to look at some of the statistics generally in Japan about mental health challenges, and then now bring it down to what we as students face. And these statistics are actually quite old, and so I would not be surprised if things are actually worse or better than they are now. So as of 2007, it was said that 1 in 5 of international students would experience significant psychological distress, and this is significant psychological distress. So if you talk about mild, moderate, the proportion actually goes up. A lot of us do not seek the help we need. We wait for the challenges to hit the roof or to hit the fan, and then we start looking for the help we need, sometimes not even taking the step at all. And I understand that from our cultural basis, mental health is not something we openly, go seeking help about. We may talk about it at home, but we don't actively make it a point to actually seek the help we need. And so this is just sort of like the icebreaker for a lot of us that help is available and there are systems in place we can actually put in place to help us when those issues arise. About graduate students, we understand that challenge, and I'll run through some of them. In Japan, particularly, we see that a lot of our people are silent, and when you're silent, or at least you don't complain, you're seeing that you're strong, and that for mental health is actually a demerit. That does not help us because we should be able to come out and express how we feel, or at least seek the help we need in order to get the issues to be resolved appropriately, or at least for us to develop better coping mechanisms to deal with the stresses that we experience. So I had a chance of speaking to a colleague of mine who is currently undertaking a research on international students and how they are able to seek out mental health services in Japan. And some of these things actually came up. I will not belabor so many of them because I think a lot of us are familiar. But one of them that stands out to me is the fact that the scholarship feels like a golden cage, or at least it seems like all that it should be, but at the same time, a lot of us feel a bit trapped in it because of the requirements, the restrictions, the regulations, and it makes it quite difficult for us to actually enjoy that process as we should. Why did this thing go? Okay. So for some people, they are grateful for the opportunity to travel to Japan and study, but at the same time, the restrictions and the challenges that it comes with feels suffocating, you know. Some of them due to the language issues, and I know in my university at the other campus, a lot of the lectures are in Japanese. And so for people who come with unrealistic expectations or are not really, primed before they come, it's quite difficult. You can feel very invisible. You're not alone, but you really do not follow or understand what is being talked about. And one of them that I thought was particularly challenging was the fact that it's difficult to express this to family back home. The grass is greener on the other side, or at least it looks to be, but the challenges are real. And sometimes expressing it to family is difficult. It's difficult because they expect that, oh, you're doing well, you're on scholarship, you should be fine. So I'll just run through some of the challenges that most of us experience. And please, as we do the discussion, please feel free to add on, share your experiences, how you're coping, and let's jaw together and see how we can help each other as a community. For us in the academic space, we know that some pressure is needed, or at least some pressure is always present. But it's important to know that when this pressure is overwhelming, such that it's incapacitating, then that is a challenge that you should definitely look at having resolved. In Japan, the output is everything. We know the deliverables we are always on the edge. We always want to publish. We have to attend seminars. We have to, contribute to the lab work of our supervisors. And sometimes this can get a bit challenging because for some who spend days and weeks and months in the lab working at very odd hours, that academic loneliness is very, very, very real. I have known colleagues, I'm hoping this is a safe space where I can share some of these experiences, who had a very difficult supervisor. And because that supervisor wields, such enormous power over their degree, it's so difficult, to deal with that relationship. And he, eventually had to extend for some time, but was able to graduate. But if he shares the challenges he went through at various stages, I could not believe that, for us as an elderly adult, he was being treated that way. And these are very real things that we see from day to day. The imposter syndrome is something that some of us may also have, which is not really feeling that they belong in their labs or in their classrooms, and they do not really have the words or how to even express how that goes. For the social life and cultural expectations, we know that Japanese people are polite. We express it in the way we talk, and we express it in the way, we give respect. But at the same time, there's also that indirect communication that comes with the politeness. And so in Ghana, where, your supervisor will clearly tell you this will not work or this is rubbish, for some Japanese supervisors or lecturers, they may tell you maybe you should try it this way. And for me, that took a while to get used to. It took me a while to understand that when they are suggesting, they might actually be pointing you in a different direction. And so that is the point where you actually have to take a cue and pivot. But if those expectations are not clearly understood, there's a very high tendency for that ambiguity to actually cause cause a strain in that relationship and actually add to the stress of acculturation, which is like settling in Japan. And generally, for those of us who work, we know there's that culture of nomikai where after work you would want to go out and sit with colleagues and drink. For non-drinkers, for those of us who are very religious or introverts, that presents a problem because even though you do not want to drink, the culture or the community is sort of expecting that harbors or brings together the community. And so I'd love to hear from the workers how you actually deal with this. We will share some of the strategies that are generally able to help, but practical experience, it's the best kind of lived experience. The other one that I think I also found quite surprising as a student in Japan was the information culture. Now, we know that in Japan, the information flow is very fluid. You say one thing to your Japanese friend or your Japanese lecturer, and the next maybe a few weeks, you may hear it from another lecturer. And for them, that is cultural. And it took me a while to understand that. And so balancing that level of oversharing, undersharing, and trying to help create boundaries of privacy, that's another thing for people that can cause discomfort and ease, or even, the challenge of having your issues spread across the community when you don't necessarily want that to happen. And I remember that happened when I was trying to bring my family into the country. It was something that I thought was a private issue, and then in the end, it was like everybody was asking and talking about it. But navigating that is another thing that we have to think about and talk about, because some of us are actually quite, very private individuals. Moving on to the language barrier, and I know that some of us on the call may have talked about this. For some of us, it's no problem at all. We're able to integrate, learn, be fluent, and we are all good to go. But for others, there's a very real challenge of, do you really invest deeply in learning the Japanese? And what will they do with the language once they leave? And with learning or not learning comes the challenges of navigating healthcare, taxes, the services that you need to do. Sometimes you have to fill forms for City Hall and the like. And I know that there are a lot of structures in place. In my university, we have a tutor system. We have, friends who can actually help. But sometimes it's difficult to keep going to the same people over and over. You have to cancel your electricity or water or transition, or even get accommodation. That's another thing that brings a source of stress that most people really try to shy away from, and may end up living in places because of this language barrier. The other thing about language I just wanted to highlight is, even when you do want to seek care, like you do want to seek mental health services, it is difficult to express some of the challenges we have clearly in Japanese. And if you do not go to a place where they are English speaking, you technically may not get, the appropriate amount of help, or at least adequate amount of help. And I will share some of the avenues I have found to be very helpful in such times, who offer services in English. So I mentioned this earlier about the housing contracts. Some of my colleagues, we have to go through these challenges in complex Japanese, and a lot of them actually will not accept you in their buildings just because you're a foreigner. And to some extent, I do not blame them. Because of their past experiences, they may hold back. But at the same time, that puts undue stress on us, because we may not all share the same characteristics. The transitioning processes and the timelines for thesis, for exams, for lab work, all may be very, very overwhelming. And without the adequate support, it may actually leave you more incapacitated than you would expect it to be. I mentioned this sort of briefly. You have traveled from Ghana to Japan, and you are living in a place where systems are supposed to work. Health insurance works, transportation works. So what do you have to complain about, So for some of us who have come very far in our families, or at least our families see us doing well, we do not want to worry them. And this silence actually affects us, because in as much as we are trying to make it, it's important to have support. And we will talk about this a little more. Dr. Dami is here. I'm sure she will also pick it up wherever I leave off. It's important to have that support. And so not being able to communicate your struggles to family can in itself impose additional mental stress on us, The added disadvantage of being distant. Recently, a colleague lost the dad, and he can't be here even though he's the oldest son. And it appears like other people have to kind of do the work. And that in itself, apart from the grief of losing a father, you actually have to deal with not being there to support the processes, give the final funeral rites and other things that are expected of the older son. And all those, subtle things that we think are nothing are the things that compound and eventually affect us in the long term. For some of us who actually do video calls, we know the time zone issue where you actually have to either plan to call in mid-afternoon to catch them early in the morning, or stay up till midnight to call them, late afternoon. It's a very, very dicey thing that may put undue stress that we do not recognize enough. And so today we are highlighting some of these things so that we can talk about it. Do not stay silent, please. I always mention that the systems we reach for when we are having difficulties are the systems we've built over time. And so if you're waiting for the worst to happen before you seek help, sometimes it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. It's important to take the steps early enough so that when you are in the difficult times, you reach for familiar things. You reach for things that you are used to, not things that are unfamiliar, And so some of these things are coming up so that we right from now, if you need to build a community, if you need to reach out, we start right from now and not wait until those issues compound. The other thing about financial stress, we all understand the scholarship gaps. For those of us living in, the major Japanese cities and are on, Japanese scholarships, we know that the true cost of living is actually higher. And a lot of us are pushed to do part-time work. And if you've done part-time work in Japan, you know how stressful it is and the requirements that come in. So we know that in the Japanese culture, they have this karushi culture where, you work yourself, you overwork yourself. And I see that the Ministry of Health, Labor, Welfare has put in some structures, but do they really work? Some of us doing part-time work can share our experiences. That present, financial gap pushes us to add on to, the already stressful work of academics, trying to navigate the settling processes and the like. Sending money home now is another challenge because now the yen is actually depreciating or has depreciated over time. People we came to meet 5 years ago are telling us that the money they used to actually have left over is actually not what they have now. And all that financial stress, especially for people with families, I do not know how you manage, but it's amazing how well you're doing. The stress of raising a household in Japan, catering for so many other things, put undue stress on us as students. And for many of us, we are not undergraduates. We are graduate students who probably have families, are starting families, or are looking to start families in the near future. And all these things are things that we should think about, or at least have subconsciously as potential things that can add on to the stress. Homesickness. And a lot of us think homesickness is when we come in to Japan for the first few weeks. It can happen at any point in time. And it's actually even worse during, the festivities, holidays, birthdays, and the like. Do not at any point minimize those emotions because they are real and it's important to acknowledge them and deal with them as necessary. I'll run through these ones. So for the career anxiety, a lot of us are actually finishing master's program. We are finishing our PhD programs, and then we are thinking, what actually am I going to do with this? When I come back to Ghana, am I going to go into public, private practice? Am I looking to go externally? And all these things are sources of stress that we do not acknowledge enough. The transitioning process is and can be very, very difficult. But with adequate support and with some help, it makes a lot of sense, or at least it makes it easier to actually navigate these concerns. Do we return? Do we stay? Do we travel elsewhere to another country, Canada, UK, Japan? These are all real life expectations and decisions that we have to grapple with at every turn as students and potentially as residents that live in Japan. Social media is another thing. I know colleagues who have actually stopped going on LinkedIn because it seems as if every time you see other people going faster or at least doing better than you are currently doing. And that's actually another thing that we can address. It's not about the comparison. A lot of us are comparing in Instagram, Twitter. A lot of them actually show people successful and settled, which may not necessarily be the case and can be another source of stress. So I will run through these briefly. I'm hoping that we can dive a little more into them as we do the Q&A. I did mention that it's important to actually start early, do these things from now. Do not wait until, you have overwhelming anxiety or you are burnt out or, clinically depressed, as we call it, before you start, looking for some form of support or putting some of these things in play. We often reach for the familiar. So your daily mind management, it's important. If you want to journal, you can journal, and it's actually quite recommended. You can take walks. You understand that your lab is not the whole amount of your life. It's not the composite, amount of your life. Look for social connection. We say it, but how many of us actually doing it? Maintain scheduled calls home. And it helps. If you have a supportive family, I can tell you that that's also a very helpful one to rest on. Peer support is important. Structural strategies are equally important. I'm happy to share this with us as we go along. In Japan, these are some of the places I have found to be very helpful. The universities are doing well. I know there are university counseling services. But because of the challenge of information spreading, I know some of us would want to use anonymous calls. Tell Japan has been one of the English providing services that I would highly recommend because they work 24 hours in the day, especially for crisis. But if it's, for long-term care or for, one-on-one, it's usually better to do that between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. And they come very highly recommended. There are a few other support systems that we can definitely talk about. For me personally, my faith community has been very, very supportive. So I did find a church that has been sort of like an anchor here in Japan, help with moving, help with various translations that I need. And I think that would be very helpful for us. I'm hoping that GSU can also support us in some form or manner in the near future. But generally, I think these are very helpful. I put here Tell Japan so that for some of us who would want to reach out, please, you are free to do that. So please let me end here and just reiterate that we are in it together. We don't have to do it alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mavis, for such an insightful presentation. Yes. Can you give some reactions? Let us know that you listened. Okay, so now we would move on to the next speaker for the day. So Dr. Flo, please, the floor is yours to introduce her.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sechi, for such an insightful presentation. Don't forget to send in your questions. We have the link shared. Portia, if you could reshare the link to the questions. If you don't mind sending anonymous questions, you can just put it in there in the chat or just save it and then you can just ask when we are done. And so for our second speaker, her name is Dr. Damilola Okusaga Arthur. I fondly call her Dami. Actually, Dami and I were classmates in medical school. And currently, she's a psychiatrist at Accra Psychiatric Hospital with over half a decade of experience in mental health care. And with a passion for young people, she goes beyond the clinic to promote awareness, early intervention, and accessible mental health services for adolescents and youth in Ghana. And during her free time, she enjoys coaching children and teenagers in expressive arts via drama and dance. And I can testify that when we were in medical school, she was really good in acting and dancing. And also, she volunteers with various organizations in the mental health space. And so, Dami, please, we are here to listen to your presentation. Don't forget to send your questions as she goes along.
Hello. Hello, please can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Good evening in Japan. And good morning to Dr. Sechi. I think it's only me and Dr. Sechi that are joining from Ghana. So Really nice to meet you. Really nice to meet everyone, actually. And I feel very honored to be called upon to give this presentation to talk to such illustrious and amazing people. It's, so thank you very much, Flo, for inviting me. So I'm going to put my presentation in full screen. Okay, please, is it full screen?
Yes, we can see it's full screen.
Okay, great. So I've titled my presentation "Far from Home," not Spider, Far from Home, and this is going to be a conversation on mental health and resilience. And basically, these are my credentials. So I'm a psychiatrist. I'm certified, both certified with the West African College of Physicians and the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, and I work at Accra Psychiatric Hospital. So this is going to be the outline of our conversation, of our discussion. Why does this conversation matter? Why are we even talking about this? So we're going to talk about the common mental health challenges that we may experience as foreign students, the warning signs we should look out for, resilience, and how do we build resilience, when to seek professional help, and some of it has actually been covered by Dr. Sechi, so I'm very grateful. I don't have to do too much. So just a little background. I'm a mental health advocate, and beyond my clinical work, I like to go to different organizations to talk about mental health. So churches, corporate organizations, community groups, and basically I aim to break stigma because stigma is perpetuated by silence. So when we break the silence, it helps us to break the stigma as well around mental health and also promote emotional well-being. Um, I am the wife of one man and I'm a mother of two. I have a 3-year-old adorable boy and a newborn daughter. So I'm currently on maternity leave, so that's why I have the chance to speak to you so early this morning. Okay, so why does this conversation matter? Moving abroad is a major life transition. And even though it's not on the same level, you might have noticed that my accent is a bit interesting and my name is also a bit interesting. So I'm Nigerian, but I've lived in Ghana for the past 13 years and I'm married to a Ghanaian. My children are Ghanaian. So I have a bit of experience in moving, to moving for school, basically just packing up your life and moving to another country. And it's a major life transition. It's something that brings growth because we move for various reasons. We move because we want to expand our worldview. We move because we want to, seek better opportunities in schooling, in life. But it comes with serious challenges as well, and these challenges are very real. Dr. Sechi has already covered most of it: the loneliness, the stress of having to adapt to a new culture, language barriers, academic pressure. It can be overwhelming, and truly, a lot of students across the world experience similar emotions. I know I experienced something similar when I moved to Ghana from Nigeria because that was like the longest I had lived without my family being close to me. And also, I can imagine how much more stressed you would feel moving to an entirely different continent that speaks, a totally different language that you're used to. So all of that can be very challenging and overwhelming. But I want you to know that feeling this way is not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you are not strong or you are a weak person. It's just a sign that you are human. So these are normal reactions to stress that we can feel. Okay, and actually, my goal for today is to normalize these emotional struggles that we go through and help you to strengthen your resilience pathways. Right. So you are not alone. That's basically what I want you to get from this slide. All right. So what are some of these common mental health challenges that people might face? Foreign students, Ghanaians in the diaspora, or even if you're non-Ghanaian, you're an African student in Japan or outside of your home country. So Dr. Sechi has mentioned virtually everything. Okay, so culture shock, you have to adapt to a new way of living, social expectations. She talked about the culture of politeness in Japan. I can imagine because I mean, coming from a culture where people are direct and just tell you what they're feeling, having to adapt to that polite culture, it can be unfamiliar. Imposter syndrome. Interestingly, I like to say that people that experience imposter syndrome are very self-aware people because a lot of people who actually don't know much about anything don't have imposter syndrome. It's very interesting. They rather feel that they know it all, but those that are actually self-aware are the people that have imposter syndrome. It's so interesting. So you might feel like you don't deserve your place, despite the fact that you have worked very hard to be where you are. And Dr. Sechi also spoke about homesickness and identity distress. So missing your community, missing your language, sometimes it's just comforting hearing someone speak your language. It's a nice feeling, and it's something that we take for granted. So when you move somewhere that you don't get that experience, it's I mean it can be a bit distressing. Okay, and also financial stress. Once again, Dr. Sichi has mentioned that, and stigma and discrimination. This is a very important challenge that a lot of people face, a lot of foreigners face when they move for school or they move for work. And we see it everywhere right now. There's a rise in nationalism, there's a rise in, how would I say it, unfortunate sentiments about immigrants, immigration, and all of that. So being a foreigner can, I mean, you may experience the stigma, you might feel invisible, you might feel people are ordering you. That is OTHERING. So you feel like people are, making you feel that you don't belong, especially in a homogeneous society like Japan. I can imagine everyone looks a certain way, or everyone, has like this common phenotype, and then you stick out like a sore thumb. So it can be distressing. And of course, the family pressure. You have been sent abroad, so you have to come back with something. You have to black tax. People expect that you send something, even if it's little, at least for them to feel that you are abroad. All right. So, what are some of these warning signs that we're talking about? So, first and foremost, I want to talk about the fact that we all experience stress, right? Stress is the body's natural reaction to demands. And there's a certain level of stress that is helpful. There's even a certain level of anxiety that is helpful because it challenges you to 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 get to work. It challenges you to actually do the things that you have to do. If you have an exam, if you have something that you have to do, you experiencing that little anxiety that, oh my god, I have to do that, I have to do that, it can make you actually start working and help you to deliver something good. But the problem with stress is when it is chronic. Okay, it's helpful in the short term, in short bursts, it's helpful. But when it is chronic, when it's something that you experience all the time, you're always stressed, you feel overwhelmed, then that is when we are concerned about stress, because stress will then lead to anxiety. And anxiety is basically constant worry about life, yourself, your tasks, your current task, your future task. And also, being students, you have deadlines, so then you start to have anxiety about your deadlines, you have anxiety about fitting in, all of that. And also there's depression. But depression is basically 2 weeks of you persistently feeling sad, feeling low for majority of the time, most days of the week. And when this happens, it starts to impact your performance, your behavior, your physical, um, your physical well-being as well. So, what are some of these warning signs? All right. So the first refers to behavioral changes, and this one it's very obvious. This is what people will notice first. This is what people will see, and make them take a second look at you and know that all is not well. So some of these behavioral changes include increased irritability. I said increase because we have different personalities, and there are some people that you know might be irritable more than others, but that is their baseline. Okay. But when it is increased, when it is persistent, and when it is disproportionate, so that means something that ordinarily would not get you that upset or that emotional is now making you, angry, is making you upset. For example, let's say someone leaves behind their a book at home, a book that we're supposed to use in group study, and then get to group study and they find out that they didn't bring that book, but someone else has the book, or there's a copy of the book in the library, but because the person left that book, they burst into tears, they start crying, they start vilifying themselves, saying that they are not good enough and all. That is a disproportionate outburst. And the other side of it also is emotional numbness, where you don't even have any emotional reaction, be it joy, sadness, whatever happens, you're just numb. So that is also not great. And also social isolation. So these are some of the things that people will notice, that they'll say, this person used to come for meetings, maybe GSU meetings, or share communal spaces like go to the library, come to class, and then all of a sudden the person is no longer doing any of that. So social isolation is also a warning sign. And performance issues. So these are a bit insidious. Other people might not notice it, but when you begin to notice it in yourself, you should um, you should recognize it as a warning sign. So sudden drop in grades or sudden drop in class attendance, the person has difficulty concentrating in class. Meanwhile, before they never used to have that kind of challenge. And also disengagement. So basically, they just feel disengaged. They feel apart from life, from school, from everything, and they just want to be left alone. They don't have any joy in things that they used to enjoy before, which is what we call anhedonia. So loss of pleasure in things that they used to find pleasurable. And physical symptoms or physical changes, weight and appetite changes. So unintentional weight and appetite changes. Because for some people, they might notice that all of a sudden they don't feel like eating, or they've lost their appetite. And it's not intentional. It's not like they are on a diet, they are not on any regimen, it's not for their health, or for health reasons. And then they just notice that they don't enjoy food anymore, they don't want to eat. And then they start losing weight. Or the other side of it, which is now they eat way more than they used to, way more than they have to, and they're putting on a lot of weight, and it is unintentional. Also, sleep disruptions. So, hypersomnia, which is sleeping excessively, or insomnia, which is not being able to fall asleep, having difficulty falling asleep or maintaining sleep. And also, neglect of personal hygiene. So, this is also something that would scream at other people, that other people would notice, more readily, that this person, maybe they already know that this lady, or this man, comes to school looking very neat, or comes to meetings looking very neat, with a nice shirt, trousers, maybe a spray or two of perfume. And then now this person comes looking disheveled. The person smells like they haven't had their bath in a while. So these are some of the warning signs. These are some of the things that when you see, you have to reach out to the person, or if you notice them yourself early enough, you shouldn't wait till it becomes a persistent thing. So once you notice it, you should reach out to someone, or you should evaluate yourself, do a self check to see what exactly am I feeling, what is going on, and try and confront any underlying issues that may be present. All right, so we've spoken about mental health challenges, we've spoken a bit about anxiety, depression, stress. What can we do to help with our mental health? So there are so many things that we can do. But before we even get to, the seeking professional help or something, what we can do for ourselves personally is to increase our resilience or to strengthen our resilience. And basically, resilience is the ability to adapt successfully in the face of stress and adversity. That is the simple definition of resilience. For a lot of us that are on this call, already we have some measure of resilience, because for you to still be here and for you to have achieved the things that you have achieved, that means that you have some level of resilience. But I want us to talk about how we can increase or how we can strengthen our resilience, or how we can consciously and intentionally build our resilience. Okay. So basically, resilience, like I said, it helps us to adapt, is the ability to adapt in the face of stress and adversity. And it relies on effective responses by the individual to environmental challenges. And it's also the ultimate resistance to this deleterious or devastating effects of stress. So there are genetic factors that have been shown to promote resilience that some people have, okay, in their brain, some chemicals, some neural pathways, okay, that people have. Some of them, neuropeptide, why the HPA axis, the serotonergic system, dopaminergic system, all of those are fine. But I want us to talk about the psychological factors that can help us to build resilience. Okay. So I've put together this resilience wheel. So basically, this shows the things that we can do by ourselves to help us to build resilience. Okay, so I'm going to go clockwise from social support. So social support is very, very important. It's something that we all need, because human beings are social animals, quote and unquote. So we thrive in social settings. No one is supposed to be an island, right? So social supports like what GSU is providing for us right now, a place to interact with people of like mind, especially since we are far from our family members, and also active coping. So active coping is something that is a healthy coping strategy, and from the name, I think we have some sort of idea. So it's basically refers to coping strategies that help us to plan, that help us to prioritize our tasks, that help us to adapt or change the qualities of the stressor and how we perceive the stressor. So when you identify something to be a stressor to you, something causing you stress, how do you tackle it? That's basically what active coping is all about. And the physical things that you do to tackle the stress, the mental processes that you employ to tackle the stress, that's basically active coping. So some of it, Dr. Sechi has already mentioned: journaling, exercise, mindfulness, okay, and then reframing, the positive reframing. So basically seeing the stressor or the stressful situation in a positive light. Okay. And think that, okay, well, it could have been worse. I mean, we sort of do these things already informally, but I'm just trying to draw your attention to it so that you can intentionally do it and do it more often. Okay. And also optimism. Optimism is very important, because once you lose your optimism, that's the end. There's something in psychology called learned helplessness. So, which basically, is from an experiment that was done. So, they put some rats in a cage, and they applied electric shock to them. So, if the rat touches something, they experience electric shock. And then at some points, they just give up. They try different things. They try to leave the cage. They try to, burrow into, out of the cage, but it didn't work. So at the end of the day, they were just helpless. So even when they opened the cage for them to come out, they couldn't do it because they had given up. So optimism helps us to combat that. Okay. And then we also have self-regulation. So when you realize that there's emotional buildup, like you are becoming more and more upset, I mean, you have to learn to regulate your emotions and identify the emotions. Okay, this is what I'm feeling, and this is why I'm feeling this. So let me rein it back as much as possible. Also, having a sense of purpose, having a sense of altruism. What can I do to give back? What can I do to help other people? Why am I on this earth? What have I been put on earth to do? It helps also to build resilience, because when you feel that you have a purpose and you feel that you're supposed to do something at a particular point in time to help other people, it helps you to sort of adapt to whatever stressful situation you are going through and sort of get over it, put and put, so that you can perform that purpose that you feel you have been called to do. And on this, I want to talk about religious coping. So a lot of times people feel that psychology is at variance with religion, but that's not the case. Actually, religion has been seen to be an effective coping strategy. So if you have, um, um, a religious uh, mindset, or if you are religious, it's something that really helps, because what you will feel that you are connected to a higher purpose, a higher power, and that can help you to overcome stressful situations. So please don't be afraid to lean into faith as a coping strategy. Okay, so there are other ones too, like exercise and humor and the rest. Right. So this, I just highlighted a bit of the things in the previous slide. So protective factors that foster resilience. So I've spoken about optimism, realistic optimism, mind you, because if you are too optimistic without appreciating the reality, that is toxic positivity and no longer optimism. So optimism, so realistic optimism, active coping, social support, physical exercise. When you exercise, you release um, endorphins, right? And this can help to calm your nervous system. This can boost your morale. It can boost your happiness, basically. And humor, cognitive reappraisal. So cognitive reappraisal just means that when something happens, you are able to reflect on it and actually think through what has happened. Okay, why did this happen? What's, I mean, okay, so what happened? Why did it happen? How did it happen? What can I do to prevent it from happening again? Or what can I do to make it happen again if it's something that you like? All right. And then humor. Humor is very good. It's a very good coping strategy. And it's something that is already employed by a lot of people. So I mean, lean into it if you're a humorous person. Okay, and then a little bit about mindfulness. So mindfulness is basically the moment to moment awareness of our bodily activities, our feelings, the sensations that we feel in our body. So moment to moment awareness. That means that whatever you're doing, you are mindful, quote and unquote. If you are eating, you sit, you appreciate how the food enters your mouth, the sensation that it provides, the feeling of, joy or appreciation. You, I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense. So if I'm making sense, can you nod? All right, thank you. So, and also when you are taking a walk, just appreciating how the air, you know, passes over your skin, the coolness of the evening or the coolness of the early morning, the birds chirping, singing, tweeting. I mean, that's basically what mindfulness is about. And aside from these bodily sensations and this activities, also your thoughts, your feelings per time. So if you are becoming anxious, mindfulness helps you to recognize that, okay, I'm beginning to feel some anxiety. What can I do about it? Okay, let me take deep breaths. Let me do deep breathing exercises, or let me just take a walk. So that is what mindfulness is all about. So it basically helps you to bring all these emotions, your feelings, these sensations. It brings it into your awareness. And when you are aware of it, then you can work on it, or you can decide what coping strategy you are going to use basically calculate. All right. And it's research has shown that strong pre-trauma mindfulness skills may help prevent anxious or depressogenic thinking. So basically, if you're already a mindful person, if you already practice mindfulness, it can prevent you from having persistent anxious or depressive thoughts. All right, so let's talk about what resilience is and what resilience is not. So resilience is not pretending everything is okay when it isn't. A lot of people do that. That oh, everything is fine. That's just avoidance. That is not resilience. That's avoidance. And resilience is not you never feeling overwhelmed or struggling. So if someone is basically fine, that doesn't mean that they're resilient. It just means that they're fine and they haven't had you know a stressful experience yet. Okay. Or at least they're not experiencing stress at that particular point in time. And resilience does not mean you pushing through alone without asking for help. That is not resilience. That is overburdening your nervous system. That's overburdening your mind. Okay. And resilience is also not suppressing emotions to appear strong. It's not about appearances. It's about how you feel and what you can do to improve your mental health. Okay. All right. But what is resilience? So now we know what resilience is not. So resilience is adapting and growing through challenges. Resilience is knowing when and how to seek help, and knowing that you should seek help is also resilience. So building healthy routines and community. Building healthy routines refers to having some structure in your life. So you have your bedtime. You know that this is the time I go to bed, and you maintain it. So you don't do all night studying, I mean, except maybe when it's exam time or something, but it's not something that you do all the time. So you have a healthy sleep pattern, you have a healthy eating pattern, you have a healthy exercise pattern, you don't overstress yourself, and you also don't you don't do too little and you don't do too much. You have a healthy routine. You also build your community, like what GSU is doing. I really like the video that I posted to social media, to Instagram. I really like it. Sorry, I'm digressing, but I have to mention it since I remember. So it was really cool. I mean, being Nigerian, if someone asks you, "Are you okay?" It doesn't necessarily mean that they are concerned about your mental health. Maybe they want to inflict pain on your mental. But when I say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" But I mean, it was a nice video, and it really shows that having a supportive community can help to improve your mental health. Because someone just asking you, "Charlie, are you okay?" I mean, it's a nice thing for a lot of people. That's actually what makes them confront themselves. That okay, I have to answer this question. Am I okay? And you might realize that then they break down in tears, or they unburden their hearts. And they always say a problem shared is half solved. So I mean, that is very important. So allowing yourself to feel and still move forward. So this is very important, especially when there has been something traumatic that has happened. Okay. So when we talk about trauma in mental health, it's not maybe an accident or something catastrophic. Something like failing an exam is trauma. Something like losing a friend, I mean, losing a friendship is also trauma. Even financial stress is trauma. So allowing yourself to feel that, oh, this is actually how I feel. I feel sad right now. I feel low right now. I feel like life is not worth living. But I mean, what can I do to move forward? I mean, allow yourself to feel all these things. Don't try and suppress your emotions, but decide that, okay, what can I do to move forward? What can I do to make this current situation better? If do I have to speak to someone? Do I have to maybe speak to someone that has been through this, or speak to someone that is at a higher level than me that can give me some advice? All right. So when should you seek professional help? One thing that we do as Africans is that we wait and then when it becomes critical, then that's when we, voice out. And this is not even just about mental health. This is in regard to health generally. I mean, the physicians amongst us would attest to the fact that someone can have a boil on the leg or a sore on the leg for weeks, for months, and they will not present to hospital until it's practically falling off the bone. Or flu. Exactly. So it's the same thing too that happens in mental health. So a lot of people don't reach out or try even talk to other people until, this warning signs, they've passed all these warning signs already. Like they've lost weight, they've lost their sleep, they're having changes in their physical appearance, they are not bathing, they are not talking to anyone, they've not brushed their teeth in weeks, and then someone notices, and then the person's like, no, Charlie, you really have to talk to someone, you have to talk to, you can't keep doing this. And that is now when they reach out. But I want us to have, to develop this behavior, this pattern of, talking to someone, even when you are a little burdened, just telling them that, okay, this is what I've been feeling, and I just feel like I should talk to you. Okay, or I should talk to someone. But when it becomes critical and you need to seek professional help, these are some of the things that may come up. So persistent sadness lasting more than 2 weeks, which is the definition for a depressive episode. And then extreme anxiety interfering with daily functioning. This is the definition of an anxiety disorder. And then loss of interest in previously enjoyed activities. So this is called anhedonia. And basically it's something that when you notice, it shows that things have reached a critical point. Because let me give an example. Let's say the person used to love playing basketball in their free time, or they used to love singing, or even sleeping, and then all of a sudden they don't have any interest in any of these things. They just want to be alone. They are emotionally numb and all. So this is a ping pong, like warning sign. Okay, all right, because this has been linked to having suicidal ideation. So that's why I'm stressing on it. A lot of times when people have this loss of interest, they start to think that life is no longer worth living, and they become at risk for suicide. Okay, and then disrupted sleep or appetite for an extended period as well. Talked about that already. And feelings of hopelessness or thoughts of self-harm. So still building on the anhedonia, and feeling that there's no sense in there's no hope for the future, or there's no hope for themselves, or there's no hope, you know, if, I mean, hopelessness basically, and having thoughts that they are not wanted. There's no need to be alive anymore. So that is when you have to help the person seek professional help. Or if you are the one experiencing it, that is definitely a time to seek professional help. But please note that if you are unsure whether what you feel counts, it counts. Okay, so don't wait for, sorry, the word is not coming. Don't wait for something to for someone to affirm what you are feeling, that, oh yes, it's true. Okay, so this counts. No, once you feel that, okay, is this important or this is not important, just take it as it is important. Okay, and reach out to someone. Okay. So Dr. Sechi has already done a wonderful job with this. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. So having a body system, I don't know if this is something that GSU does already, but if it's not, it's something that I want to introduce to you. So I don't know, it's just a suggestion. So maybe when people come as freshers, or they are new, and they are new to GSU, they are new to Japan, it would be nice to sort of pair them with someone maybe a year above them, or like a senior, not too far in in the academic level or something, but just for them to have a body, someone that is already conversant with the system, someone that already has an idea of how things go in Japan or how things go in their academic pursuits to sort of help them along the way. And please, when you are made someone's body, please don't take advantage. Don't cheat the person and don't prey on the person, please and please. Okay. And another important resource, trusted mentors. So if you have a supervisor or if you have someone in your academic field or someone in your work, let's say maybe you're not a student, someone in your place of work that you feel has gone ahead of you and has more knowledge, more information that you trust, you can also reach out to the person and talk to them. And then counselors, like Dr. Sechi has mentioned, she spoke beautifully about that, so I'm not going to talk about that. And well, we are in the age of AI. But before we even go into AI, because the thing with AI too is that we have noticed an onset of, AI related delusions, and also please, I'm not going to suggest that you should take your symptoms and input them into ChatGPT and say this is what I feel. Sometimes they don't. It doesn't give the best answer, but I still have to mention it. But there are some apps like BetterHelp. BetterHelp is actually good. They have some mental health first aid that they provide, and also the app called Calm. So Calm is good for sleep issues, anxious thoughts, anxious feelings. And there's this platform. It's called Hey Ikea. I attended the launch of this platform. That was last year, June or so. And basically, it runs on WhatsApp. Oh, should I share my screen? Let me. Okay, you know what? I'll just leave it to you. But so it's called Hey IKEA. So if you type Hey IKEA mental health platform or something on Google, it will bring it out. So basically, what it does is that it's like a WhatsApp AI chatbot. So, when you talk to it, quote unquote, when you um, type into the chatbot, it gives some help with mental health challenges. So let's say you are feeling low, you feel sad, and you say, "Hey, Ikea, I feel sad. What can I do?" Then it can help you. It can take you through, positive thinking. If you're having anxiety, if you're having anxious thoughts, it can take you through deep breathing exercises. I think we should try it. Okay, even right now before we go home, so that you can have a feel of how it works. It's really cool. And the fact that it runs on WhatsApp, you don't need to download another app for it. It's nice. All right. Okay, so we are done. We're almost done. So in conclusion, you are far from home, but you are not far from support. Okay, and your mental well-being matters as much as your physical well-being, as much as your degree, as much as your career, as much as your future, because that is actually what can help you to have, a good career, a good future. There's no health without mental health. So mental health plus physical health plus emotional health plus financial health is total health. Okay, so at the risk of sounding like I'm giving slogans, so I'll just stop with that. But basically, your mental well-being is important, and it's if your mental health fails, every other thing fails, even your physical health, because you can't have a thriving physical health or emotional health without a healthy, um, without a good sense of mental well-being. All right, and resilience is built through community. Yes. So there's something there's a slogan, or should I say something that says better together. And that is very true for resilience. So resilience is built true community. Apart from the fact that there are individual protective factors that you can do to help you boost your resilience, it's best to build true community. And what I mean by that is, if your support group is resilient, if you are resilient individually, when you come together, you can strengthen each other's sense of resilience as well, because you can tell one another, the things that you have done that have helped you personally to build your resilience, thereby helping the other person to also um, build their resilience. I feel like I've said resilience so many times, but I'm just trying to make a point. All right. And how do we build or maintain community? Through tasks and activities. For example, what we are doing now, we are building community. I've not met most of the people on this call before today, but I mean, I feel better having met, I mean, you guys now. So, I mean, so these are some of the things that we do to strengthen community. So, we organize activities, that will force us, quote unquote, to come together. And when these activities are organized, please attend them. They are going to be more helpful than you can even imagine. So let's embrace community, okay? And let's find motivation in the things that we do. They, it has been shown that when people have a sense of purpose, a sense of um like it yeah, well, a sense of purpose basically, it drives them in whatever they are doing. If you feel that what you are doing is for a specific purpose, then you are more likely to do it. Okay. All right. I feel like I've spoken too much. So silence perpetuates stigma. So let's not be silent about our struggles. Let's talk to other people about it. Okay. And let's look out for each other. Okay. We're a family. And let's take our mental health individually and collectively seriously. Thank you. Arigato.
Thank you so much, Dr. I don't know, Okusaga Ata, yeah, for your presentation. So now we will get into questions. And if you have any question, you can type it in the chat or raise your hand if you want to ask your question yourself. But while we wait for people to ask, I have several questions from the anonymous messages. So I think I'm going to read them two at a time so that we can answer and then move on to the next questions. And the first one is, in handling mental health, confiding in Japanese services may feel disconnected. I feel the Japanese mental health services may not understand how I feel from a cultural point of view. They may have professional views, but it may not have the cultural background that might be the root of my problem. So I think the person is asking, what do I do in this situation? That's the first question. And then the second one is, talking to colleagues too make me insecure because I will be sharing secrets that I won't want to get out. How can I trust other colleagues? I can't also talk to people at home because they might not also relate to the Japanese setting. In this case, how do I navigate? Those are the first two questions for now. So, Dr. Sechi, are you starting for us since you've been in the Japanese setting? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Portia. Okay, so I think the first one is talking about the disconnection when it comes to using Japanese platforms. And I'm happy that Dr. Dami has done quite an excellent job in pointing out some of, the local help services. I see that Komi-san has put the Hey Kia in the chat box. It's a place to start. For me, I am cautiously optimistic about digital health platforms, so that's one of the things I have, because I know it's still evolving. There's a lot to learn in the process, but at least we have those from home that we can talk about. Additionally, some platforms like Tell Japan actually hire international clinicians. So there are options for you to actually indicate the specific people you are looking to talk to, and they try to accommodate some of the requests that come in. And so beyond Dr. Dami's recommendations on, using some of these digital platforms, if you are not too comfortable using the Japanese platform, you can definitely look at Tell Japan, but please indicate. So there's telljp.com. They have indications for who you would want to talk to and any specifications you have. If you're not comfortable with that, there's the Heikia that Dr. Dami mentioned, among others. I know that Mental Health Authority in Ghana now also has a toll-free number, and I just checked it out. They also have sort of like a short code you can actually talk to. But please reach out to Dr. Dami, reach out to myself. We can definitely link you up with somebody if it's urgent. So please do not let, the idea that there's a disconnection because of, the different cultural backgrounds hold you back from reaching out. So that's what I would say for the first one. Now, the second one is talking about trusting colleagues with secrets, right? So I would first off say that your colleagues are your teammates. They are not supposed to be your confidants. If you are blessed to have somebody you can build a friendship with, and over time you can, share, that's fine. And generally trust is earned. So it will take time to build that relationship. For family, they do not necessarily have to fix your problem. For your mom, your parents, your dad, they are an avenue to vent. They are an avenue to sort of tell your problems to. They may not give you like a direct solution to the problem because of the different contexts, but I can bet you that there is some advice they can provide that can help you to reshape your thinking and how you even approach the problem or the challenge. So those are some of the things I would say. If these are too foreign for you, or if you think that you can't trust colleagues, you can't trust family, then please definitely reach out to, these services that we have highlighted. It's always good to talk to somebody. I want to reach out to some of these services. Which ones would you recommend, or what have you used? How did it work out for you? Without giving too much information to the challenge, as you already mentioned. So I think some of these recommendations that Dr. Dami and myself we've given are a good place to start. If you do not think friends are a good place to start. But I always think that if you can find a trusted family member, or at least somebody guiding you, they will not fix the problem, but they can give some advice to reshape how you see the problem. Let me stop here and then let others come in.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sechi. Dr. Okusaga Arthur, do you have something to add, or should I move to the next questions?
Okay, so I've posted the mental health authority toll-free line. Yeah, it's true. I should have spoken about it, but it's because it's not because we are not in Ghana. That's why it skipped my mind. But yes, I feel if you can call from Japan, yes, it's supposed to be 24/7. So that's it. So 0800 678 That's the toll-free line.
Thank you.
And oh, you're welcome. And the regarding the question about talking to friends, sharing your secrets. So you don't have to tell them your secrets. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you don't have to say your secrets. Just say what you are feeling and what you are experiencing. Let me give an example. If your supervisor is not being great to you, and just say, "Oh, I'm having challenges with my supervisor." You don't have to say, "Oh, I mean, he insulted me," or maybe he has not been helpful. I mean, you don't need to go into the specifics. Just say how you feel. I don't know if that makes sense. So you can say, "Oh, I feel like I'm not being heard. I feel I'm not being supported. I feel I'm, not, I, I feel I'm not happy. I feel isolated from things that are going on." Do you understand what I'm saying? So instead of really going into the specifics and saying, "Oh, this happened to me, this when I was going here, this happened and this happened. No, because at the end of the day, human beings are human beings, and I mean, you can't trust someone 100%, especially someone that you don't have like a therapeutic alliance with, and who is not held by any board, any standard boards to like to keep your information confidential. But if you can speak to a counselor, you can speak to a therapist, fine, then you can say everything, because that person has entered into a therapeutic contract with you where they are under no circumstances are they supposed to share your personal information. And if they do, there's someone that can hold them responsible. But if it's your friend, that person doesn't have that sort of contract with you. So yes. So like speak specifically to what you are experiencing and the help that you need, instead of saying all the details of the of the matter. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Tay, you have a question? I have.
Yes, it's no more, it's more of like maybe sharing an experience that perhaps may help somebody, because the two questions that were asked kind of like comes from two different perspectives, which is opposite each other. One is referring to the fact that you are speaking to a Japanese help whilst they don't know your cultural background. And then the other one, kind of like you are speaking to somebody from Ghana who doesn't really know what is happening here. It's not been long since I've come here, but I think that when you are moving from Ghana to somewhere like Japan or kind of things, for starters, when you are preparing to move from Ghana, there are a lot of things that comes into play, such that you don't even tell a lot of people. You don't communicate it out to people that you are traveling. But for my case, I think there were some few people who I very much trusted, and so I held on to them. And so I was with them, and they helped me throughout the whole process. And then when I got here to Japan, I still maintained that communication with them. And so they are in Ghana, but they kind of like knows almost everything that goes on in my day. I find myself here in Hakodate, where so far I've only met one Ghanaian also in this community. So in my university, so we are only two Africans right now that I know of. The other guy is from Kenya. And so because I still maintain that kind of like connection I had with the person I speak to from Ghana, sharing my experiences almost every day here with them. She kind of like knows more about me. So sometimes I could be on the phone talking to her. I know I am new here, but for me personally, this is one thing that has helped me so much, and I wish to share. I'm not a professional, but it is an experience that I want to share. So having someone that you can always share some deeper things with from Ghana, and you are sure you can think about the trust, but hey, if you cannot trust anybody in the world, then you are going to be alone, and then the depression and other things may come up. So this is an opinion that I want to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So there are some other questions, and until you have a question, please can we hold on until we answer all the questions because of time. And please, to Dr. Sechi and Dr. Okusaga Arthur, when I give the two questions, can you answer one each so that we are able to move on? Because there are a lot of questions actually, so we don't answer and leave some out. Obed, please wait for me. Thank you. So the third question is, how do we navigate dating relationships here in Japan? What are the things to look out for so that we don't lose ourselves in the process? Because in Japan, we are exposed to more cultures than our home country. How do we cope with the new cultures in regards to relationships? And the next is, how do I take care of the anxiety of academic regression following the realization of the difference in the academic requirements between Ghana and Japan? Yes, so Dr. Sechi, Dr. Okusaga Arthur, the questions are.
Okay. All right, so I will start, but I'm happy for additional comments that can come in once I'm done if there's time. Maybe let me take the relationship bit in Japan, since I've lived here, I've seen people do that. I think more importantly, it is important for you to have that self-awareness, no matter where you go, understanding who you are, understanding what your core values are, understanding what you stand for is one of the things that, you cannot trade off engaging with other cultures, whether in Japan, in UK, in the US. That's a very core fundamental. And with that comes looking for somebody that you can share those values with, those, principles. And I'm from the Christian background, and we strongly believe in not being unequally yoked with people who do not share similar values, because it creates a lot of conflict. It creates a lot of friction between the two people, especially if they are very divergent in their very core values and principles. So I would highly recommend that, as much as possible, understanding what you as an individual stand for in this single phase of life is important. The things you're not willing to negotiate on, the things that you're not willing to trade off, and finding somebody who will share those value systems with you is actually very instrumental in whatever relationship journey you would go for. And with that will come, the obstacles, the challenges, the clashes, and other things, if you are very divergent in your thinking and in your thought process. But ultimately, no matter what it is, I think the communication bit, no matter who you meet, is very key. And with that basic foundation and understanding, it kind of gives rise to a better friendship and a better relationship long term. Let me stop here.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sachi. Dr. Arthur.
Okay. So, regarding the academic question, so I don't know your specific field of study, so I might not be able to speak um directly, regarding that. So I would talk about basically how to deal with anxiety, like in the short term. So like when you have like an episode of anxiety, panic attack, how to deal with that. Because regarding the academic how to deal with academic progression, I feel you should talk to someone that has gone ahead of you, preferably a Ghanaian or someone, maybe an African with a similar background, who is in your current field of study or your current academic field, and find out how they how they overcame that challenge, and learn from that if possible, or someone in a similar field. Okay, so basically harness your social support. It's a very useful resource. So if you are able to find someone who has gone through a similar challenge, whether in that same field of study or a similar one, whether the person is also a Ghanaian or the person is an African who has a similar background as you. So find someone and talk to that person and see if they went through that situation and how they overcame it. Okay. And also group studies, I mean, basically social support, finding other people in similar circumstances and finding out how. Okay. But with dealing with anxiety, in the short term, there are some things that there's something we call deep breathing exercise. All right, deep breathing exercises. So basically, there are different formulas. There's 4-7-8, 4-4-4, whatever. So basically, you take a very deep breath and you hold it for 4 seconds. Then you exhale for 7 seconds. Okay, and then you repeat the cycle again. So, okay, I was hoping that we could all do it. So everyone try taking a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, I started.
Okay, and make sure your belly is rising. That is how deep the breathing should be. So then you hold it for 4 seconds. and then you exhale slowly, 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 slowly. So if you do that a couple of times, deep breathing exercises, it can help to relieve anxiety in the short term. But please don't do it when the anxiety has gotten to the peak. So like once you feel that you are becoming anxious, like you just feel like, okay, I'm becoming anxious, then you do the deep breathing exercise. Okay, there are also other things like progressive muscle relaxation and all of that, but I mean, we can start with a deep breathing exercise to combat anxiety, and also talking to someone about the anxiety that you feel, and also okay. But regarding the specific academic question, I'm sorry, I can't speak to that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Arthur. Um, the next question is, what is the role of supplements in mental health? And then I have another one, but it's still on trust. How do you talk to someone if you can't trust? But since we've spoken on that, maybe I'll go to the next one. I have been experiencing insomnia for several weeks now. What can I do? What is the role of supplements in mental health? And I have been experiencing insomnia for several weeks now. What can I do? Thank you.
Okay, so regarding the question about supplements, the thing with supplements is that, I mean, some people will say it works for them, and some people will say it doesn't work. So like, there's no um how will I say it? No definitive research finding that has really shown that across board there are some supplements that you can take. But some people say that when they take magnesium supplements, it helps. So this is not my professional opinion. I'm just saying what some people have said. Okay, some people have said, taking magnesium, I think magnesium glycinate or something like that helped them. But I can't really speak to that. But regarding the insomnia question, okay, so I would need to know, okay, I might not need to know because privacy and all. But is it difficulty initiating sleep, difficulty maintaining sleep, or difficulty, waking up early waking? Because all of this have specific mental health conditions that there are warning signs of. So difficulty falling asleep is a thing, and difficulty maintaining sleep, which is you waking up in the middle of the night frequently, and it's taking a long time before you go back to sleep. And then early waking as well, because early waking, if it is early waking that you are experiencing, that could be a sign of a depressive episode. So I would want you to talk to someone about it as soon as possible. Okay, so you can use any of the tools that we have mentioned, and or speak to a counselor that is available to you. Okay, but to help with the sleep issue, there's something called sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene. So basically, sleep hygiene means that your bed or wherever you sleep is only for sleep, and well, if you're married, for sex. But basically, the bed should not be for any other thing apart from like those functions. So it is not for reading. It's not for reading books. It's not your library. It's not for watching TV. It's not, for any other thing apart from those biological functions. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that you should have a consistent time that you go to bed. So every day, maybe it's 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m., worst case scenario, 10 p.m. You go to bed at that time. So there's something called winding down. So winding down means that 30 minutes before your scheduled sleep time, you start, winding down, like you start putting off appliances. If there are things that you have to do before bed, you start doing them and you start preparing yourself for bed. And then when you get to your bed, like I said, you only sleep. And you put off the lights, so no bright lights in the room. Or if you can't sleep without light, a dim light, dim yellow lights, or some not direct bright light in your face. And for some people, they have noticed that when they play soft sounds, there's something called white noise, brown noise, pink noise. I don't know if we're familiar with these terms, but if you just type it up, it will show you apps that provide those kind of soft noises that can help you to sleep. So some people fall asleep to the sound of rain beating against the glass, things like that. So I mean, all of the okay, so all of those have been found to be helpful. But basically, sleep hygiene. The bed is only for sleeping, no bright lights, winding down activities. All of that can help with sleep hygiene. And if in worst, okay, not in worst case scenario, but like if it's so bad, you might have to take medication. But please don't take the medication on your own. Let it be prescribed to you, okay? Because if you are not careful, you can become dependent on the medication and you won't be able to sleep without the use of medication afterwards. But talk to someone, please.
Nami, I think you have probably Portia?
Yeah, I was asking if you wanted to add something. So
Yeah. I think I was just going to mention the sleep hygiene, but primarily it's about diagnosing what is causing the insomnia. I know a lot of us spend a lot of time on our phones, do screen time for hours and hours on end. We may take naps during the day. All those things affect your nighttime sleep quality. So it's important to actually watch, all those things that we do, because it's very important for your mind to actually know that I'm coming to sleep. And you don't have to wait until, it's so terrible before you go in to get the help you need. It's good that you are reaching out now. In Japan, once you walk in, they are English-speaking hospitals, they would actually assess your routine during the day. They would see how you do, and they will recommend what would be best, whether managing conservatively with the sleep hygiene that Doc talked about, or potentially, cutting down caffeine in the afternoon. Alcohol may also impair sleep patterns in the evening. And screen time. A lot of us do it. We scroll and scroll and scroll until we fall asleep with a phone in our hands. That's actually one of the things that actually can impair your sleep quality. So please, please, and please again, if you can start off with these sleep hygiene things we've talked about, and you still see that it's not improving, then please walk in, get the help that you need. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sechi. So I'll move to the next two questions. How can I differentiate between someone being nice and the feeling of harassment and privacy invasion? That's the first one. And the second one is, I feel racially profiled when Japanese people stare at me. What should I do? So yeah, those are the questions. How can I differentiate between someone being nice and the feeling of harassment and privacy invasion? And I feel racially profiled when Japanese people stare at me. What can I do?
Okay. All right. So maybe let me start with the profiling issue. Dr. Dami can come in. So it's true, Japanese people are generally conservative, and for a lot of them, we are probably the first Africans they've met. Okay. And there's a lot of curiosity about who we are. I have had people in my church touch my hair. I have braided hair. So they would want to touch and see, is this my hair? Is this not my hair? When I leave my kinky hair on, they want to touch and say, oh, kawaii, is very cute and all that. So for some of them, instead of, stereotyping and saying, okay, are they actually out to, thinking negatively, profiling negatively? It could genuinely be out of curiosity. Okay, so I would say that it's important to have, that in our minds, that for a lot of them, it could be genuine curiosity as to, as being Africans, as having unique color of skin, color of hair, the way we speak and all that, even our mannerisms, the way we talk, the accent and all. So there is that, big scope where people are genuinely curious about who we are. And then there's the minority who are, I hear, more vocal now, looking at immigrants and all that. So I would
come home to royalty.
Welcome to Adosu Royal Hotel, located at New Pomo, Akosomo. Nestled in the heart of New Pomo, Akosomo, where the river flows and the breeze whispers peace, lies a sanctuary of comfort, elegance, and love. Adosu Royal Hotel. The moment you arrive, you are not just a guest, you are a family. At Adosu Royal Hotel, love is abundant and every detail is designed with you in mind. A beautiful room with a view of the Volta River, clean cribs bedding, and a local decor. Relax in our spacious air conditionings. Wake up to the serene views and the sounds of nature. And yes, sumptuous breakfast, always with a smile. Whether it's business, romance, or a weekend escape, Adosu Royal Hotel has the space, the taste, and the grace. Come home to royalty. Adosu Royal Hotel, Akosomo, where love meets luxury. Contact us on 0242 980453 or 020-813-7933. You can send us email at adosuroyalhotel2@gmail.com. Thank you.